My name is Hamado Tomato. I have a thing for blood. I used to think it was for decapitation. Then I met the love of my life. I wanted to be her shining knight, sing her soft lullabies at night, but I had my own issues that made this difficult. I once thought I liked dead girls, but it wasn't their rotten stink that appealed to me. It was the idea of being able to hold and embrace them, even if we never met. If not for the fact that I wanted to see their severed heads roll off their shoulders, but I think I'm cured now, for the most part anyway. But there was a time when I wanted to use them as bowling balls in some imaginary game of bowling. Imagine others clapping to their demise, tap dancing in their bowling shoes. But more importantly, I didn't like the idea of being rejected by someone I liked. I thought this was because I didn't want to be alone, that dead girls could not reject me. But the only one rejecting me was myself, for I only in all this strange new world had myself. I want tears beyond mortal tears, beyond the ones that most people will ever have to face. The tears of shame and guilt and falling in disgrace. Falling down into a put down below, away from the kingdom by the sea. And for me and my bride, Ahina Marie, there was only death. I wanted a special kingdom for my beloved bride, far beyond the cruelties of this world we call Earth, in some country called France or the United States, or what had remained of it, when the French had taken over what remains. Lost in my own digital sexuality, I prepared for the fall. But this girl out of time, who would let me die by her side in this tomb of all tombs, had something else in mind for me. This is our story. And in this kingdom by the southern sea, where sand was white and green, beyond the pale horse with his scythe slicing you in your spleen, I wanted something different, partially to satisfy my own sexuality. But there was some part of me that didn't want to admit that I had fallen in love with this girl that I had grown up with, who had rejected me based on this accursed interest in the dead. I wanted something more, not just her head. Don't look at me like that, Ahina. I don't date girls simply to cut their heads off. She gave me one of those looks as if she knew, but was horrified by the idea that I would even have to mention it. Maybe not. But look at the stars tonight, she said, pulling out a joint to puff into the wind. Isn't that curious? She gave me the middle finger and then went on her way home. We had had issues for some time since I had turned 15, but we began seeing each other less once I reached 18. What a way to spend a final goodbye. But I still wanted her, even if it was just her head. Or so I thought. Ahina as my wife. It was 2016, and you wouldn't think there would still be decapitation. They went through different kinds of capital punishment methods, none of which really matched the degree of humanity that they once claimed they would achieve. Some states went so far as to ban the death penalty completely, and most of Europe had already banned the practice. But there was a new tide revealing some dark, secret kingdom that was best left hidden from the world. The Hina Marie I knew in high school was very much a different one from the one in Alsace. But she would still have memories of the time that she was beheaded by guillotine, her crying out to me, asking me to save her neck. And even still, I wondered what it was, even though I thought I could go into her dreams. I'm not sure what made me stop. And now I live with the regret. I puffed a joint into the starry night. I didn't think I'd fall in love with a parasital girl. But that was the deck of an uneven 52 given to my lap. A lap that months previously I had preferred, replaced by the flow of gentle tongue around my shaft, but sometimes life doesn't deal in such easy ones. But that was my luck. All over again. I didn't even think a cis girl would have a thing for a trans woman, but trans wasn't exactly a convenient thing or trendy if you're living in one of the more conservative states of the Union. We had met in our freshman year of high school, though eventually she started seeing boys. But the boys started demanding things from her, so she was quick to break off from unhealthy situations. I was never quite sure how she was able to easily switch from one lover to the next, but in all cases she always came back to me sobbing. She knew that I would be there to give her a shoulder, and she would talk about what happened. I knew that her father was a douchebag, and from time to time she would have trouble with law enforcement. And being an immigrant, it put her in a tricky situation due to Obama's and later Trump's immigration policies. But it was one that she knew she could trust. She knew that my dad dropped his job working as a short order cook when he offered lots of money to cut people's heads off for the state's guillotine family. Eventually it came down to this. We trusted each other more than anyone else. And out of anything else was what bothered me the most about having her gone from this world. The lust overpowering the sensation of mixed feelings and overwhelming despair. That feeling of hopelessness that only ever achieved full fruition when you realize you've met the love of your life, and simply no longer have the option to express it. Weeping, weeping, and weeping till one could weep no more. It was time to die. Dance to the rhythm of death in this kingdom by the hidden sea. For me and my Hina Madi, the final epitaph of the damned. I heard the sound of my father screaming in the kitchen. Then he jerked me to the sound. He didn't much like the idea of one of his daughters dating someone that they would eventually have to execute by guillotine, and it was the most difficult decision of my life to watch him kill her. But I wanted her now. I wanted her as my wife.